Developing brain while playtime is a little bit tricky, but today's guest made it simple. Welcome to the Researcher Mom podcast with your host, Dr. Shivalee. Eleni is a mom of two who builds different scientific experiments, developing curiosity and enthusiasm in the kids. So, let's dive into this conversation.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lab and Lullabies podcast. And today we have Eleni with us. She is a mother and a quite, I would say, a STEM mother. And she also always advocates for women in STEM and working while managing the motherhood and the career. So, welcome, Eleni.
Thank you so much. Thank you
How
for
are
having me.
you today?
Doing good. It's funny that you mentioned the motherhood part of it. Of course, that's why we're here. This is the first week of school for my
Oh, yeah.
kids. So all of those activities are beginning to start up this week. So it's a busy time, but fun.
Yes, definitely. I can imagine the busyness and the craziness from the summer vacation moving forward to the school, new class, and all of the new struggles. So, just to begin with, can you please introduce yourself or your STEM journey and managing your motherhood as well as the STEM science, basically?
Sure. I can give you guys a little bit of background. So, I've always loved science. I've always been interested in learning about mainly biochemistry has been my main interest. So,
Mhm.
as far as my professional journey in science, I studied biochemistry and did my undergrad and went straight into an industry role where I worked for a few years before actually starting to have kids. So,
Mhm.
I was in the lab a lot, but I knew that I wanted to transition to becoming more of a out of the lab situation so that I could balance that motherhood. I kind of knew ahead of time that I wanted to have something a little more hybrid or out of the lab. So I transitioned to project manager, managing some other people and projects that were still in the lab a bit. So I got that, piece that I love, still interacting with people in the lab. And I became a mother in 2020. So becoming a mom February of 2020, right before the pandemic, was incredibly difficult,
Yeah, I can
as
imagine.
one can imagine. Um, but it threw me for a loop. Everything I planned was out the window, So essentially, what happened is thrown into motherhood in this next chapter of life. But in a nice thing was I was able to work from home fully.
Mhm. Mhm.
So my journey as a mother in STEM, the whole time that I've been a mother, I've been able to have that opportunity to work from home, which I think has really helped me be able to keep my sanity a bit and be able to kind of balance that a little bit better than I would have if I was having to go into the office every single day. So that's really where I am today. I have two kids. My daughter's 4, my son is 2, and they're going into school, as I said, this week.
Yeah.
And, just continuing figuring out life as these changes come at us, as they get older, things change.
Wonderful. So I want to touch base upon a few of the points that you mentioned in the introduction, where
Sure.
you talked about that you wanted to transition from the lab to bench. Was
Mhm.
it thinking ahead that at some point you would want kids and to balance the life?
Mhm.
That was an intentional transition?
Yes, so it was for me. And I recognize that everybody has a different preference on how they want their life to look. Whether or not we have control of that, is questionable. But I knew that if I was going to become a parent, that I was going to want to be out of the lab a little bit and have more flexibility. And I knew that there were project manager positions available
Mhm.
that would offer that. So I knew that was an option and kind of tried to move towards that in an intentional way before I became a parent. And I also just, had gotten my fulfillment from the lab, kind of done what I wanted to do. And because I don't have my PhD, I didn't want to pursue my PhD to get higher roles in the
Mhm.
scientist role. So I thought this will be a nice time to kind of go a different route and get something that complements my scientific background, which was project management. So it kind of all fell into place.
Yeah, but this is a very good takeaway right in the beginning of the podcast or the episode is like plan your life in a way that you could balance your career as well as motherhood and
Mhm.
have that far-fetched eye where you know what you want in life and
Mhm.
navigate your path, whether it might be in career or might be in a motherhood, very wisely and diligently, I would say.
Mhm.
This is a very interesting takeaway, and like no one plans that long, like, because before having kids we are always in this career zone where we want to always climb the ladder and take
Mhm.
the next possible job. But when life happens, and it is not that no one had not planned, like we don't want kids, but when life
Mhm.
hits, then you start navigating. But
Mhm.
doing the research part or doing the background homework right before, it would certainly help the other moms who are in this stage of life.
Very much so. And that can change too.
Yeah.
One thing that is very clear to me is, I had an idea of what I wanted to do with, my career and what kind of role I wanted before having kids. Once I had kids, the world changed, but my perspective changes. And being able to, think about that ahead of time is nice. But it's also okay if that shifts. You might think, oh, I'll be fine staying in the lab,
Mhm.
or I'll be fine working from home. But if you get to that point and you realize maybe this isn't working for me, it's okay to shift gears and kind of keep moving towards something that works.
Yeah, and this is how one should or one lands into clarity by shifting the gears up and down or navigating left and right, but
Mhm.
finding a sweet spot that works for both of us, like the motherhood, like the baby is happy, the mom is happy, and everything goes in a very well direction way. The second thing what I wanted to point out was you had transitioned this role intentionally to spend more time with your kids after you had the kids, but the pandemic hit. And that, how did that navigation go? Because you were planning it for so long, so that it would be, balancing, but the situation was completely upside down.
Yes. So I would say first that whenever I say I planned for the project management kind of transition, that wasn't a plan that I had, as soon as I graduated. It's a
Yeah.
plan that kind of came to be and
Hmm.
fell into place closer to actually becoming a parent. It was
That's
like,
right.
okay, this is good. So it was a short plan that kind of worked. But as far as going into the pandemic and being home, 100% working from home, having my new child, trying to navigate all that, I barely remember details
Yeah.
because it was a lot at once. What I do remember though is leaning on my support system, which
Hmm.
one was my husband, of course, and my mom and my mother-in-law and all of the family that we have locally. Whenever they were able to come over and help, they did, and that was really helpful for me because I felt that I was still home and close to my daughter whenever she was little. But looking back, it was also difficult to be in the next room and being able to hear her playing and being able to hear her do stuff with my family, knowing that I was selfishly thinking like, oh, I'm missing out on all that, is so hard. And I say selfish, but it's also normal to feel that struggle. So it was hard. It was just really hard, and it was difficult. Yeah, being isolated for those first couple of weeks too. Whenever I had her, and not being able to have people come, and then transitioning to work. It's a bit of a blur.
Yeah, it's a bit, and I can totally relate to you when you say that it is hard and now you cannot remember it, because after 9 months, my boy is 9 months, and after 9 months, I still don't remember the fine details of how I did. I can barely remember that I was overwhelmed, yes, and
Mhm.
it was a bit difficult for me to manage everything when I started work after my maternity break, but
Mhm.
the details I don't. And
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy how much we remember the overarching feelings of being overwhelmed. That's
yeah.
definitely what I can relate to, as you said. And then the details of it, it's hard to pinpoint because there was just so much going on, so many transitions at once, and especially going from So my maternity leave was about 3 months before I
Mhm.
had to go back into work. How long was yours
Yeah,
after?
same.
Yours?
Three
Same.
months. Yeah.
So you get to that fourth month and you're still a brand new parent figuring it out. You're still not sleeping well, I'm
Yeah.
assuming, unless you were super lucky. But,
No, I'm not
you know,
in that case.
most aren't. And yeah, and having to figure out, okay, I have this role of mother, this role of, career woman or whatever it is you were, quote, before baby. But all of these things are still us. And there's a lot of an identity,
Shift.
yeah, a shift.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
a whole new, it's the same me, but also a new me. And just trying to figure that out and find time for taking care of ourselves. It's hard beyond that first month back to work. It just depends on the situation. It's different with each kid too.
Yeah, and in that phase, you are working in a way, but you just feel that you are left behind, or
Mhm.
like the whole group has been moved forward, and then you joined after 3 months, and there has lot happened in those 3 months where we feel like left out or a kind of FOMO. How was your experience in getting back to work? And that too, you were supposed to work from home, which was
Mhm.
another layer of difficult situation.
So with my daughter working from home and getting back, I did feel a struggle, but it was really due, I mean, I contributed a lot to just the shift in the culture at work because we were used to working one way and now everybody had to shift how they were
Yeah.
working because of the pandemic. So I was everyone was just navigating that separately. So it was
Mm-hmm.
hard to figure out the new dynamics. And on top of that, I was trying to figure out my own stuff. So I definitely felt like I had a lot to catch up on, but my group was really supportive.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was helpful. And with my son, I was no longer in project management. I had transitioned to product management by the time I
Yeah.
had my son. And really, I didn't feel too left out on things moving forward. Whenever I got back, my team had taken care of a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
and 3 months goes by really fast. And
Yeah.
so they were really supportive of that time. And so when I came back, I just kind of picked up where we left off. But the hardest thing I think with my second child was I felt a big pressure on myself to come back like
Mm-hmm.
top of my game. Like, even though I missed, I'm still here, guys, and have all this to prove. And it put so much extra pressure on myself that looking back, I wish I wouldn't have done because nobody's talking about, oh, she's coming back to work and she's not going to
Yeah.
be as good. That's sometimes what people may say, but I never had any proof of that. I just put that own pressure on myself and felt like I had an extra thing I needed to show, but it was unnecessary at that time for me. I wish I wouldn't have done it.
Let's talk about this pressure a bit
Mhm.
more, because
Yeah.
most of the moms feel that pressure, even like most of the type A moms, I would feel,
Hmm.
or I would say that they have this pressure of performance, and
Hmm.
they feel guilty about the fact that they were on a break, which was not literally a break, and
Good work.
coming back, um, they feel just guilty about that, of performing after you come back, and you are barely sleeping, you are barely managing all the tasks, and then on top of it, like the pressure. So what would you say, or how was your journey managing this pressure?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like what you said is true. It probably depends on someone's personality on how much pressure they're putting on themselves. I definitely was guilty of just I still do it. Lots of pressure from myself on myself. And so I think looking back, I would have just said, just do what I can, but take care of myself a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's making sure that I don't put unrealistic expectations on myself. Perfection's impossible. Just
Yeah.
do a good job. And then just take rest whenever I need it instead of constantly pushing myself to be the best all the time. That's impossible for anyone, and it just sets us up for disappointment. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you also mentioned about the supportive workplace. So,
Hmm.
can you please elaborate a bit more on that? Like, how does your support system look like when you have like two kids?
Mhm.
Both are going to the school where you have add-on activities after the school and your work, your husband's work. So
Mhm.
how do you guys manage as a family?
Yeah, as a family, my husband and I, we've over our life just kind of taken turns taking care of different things. So we don't have like set roles of you're always doing this, I'm
Mm-hmm.
always doing that. We definitely have different needs from each other depending on what season of life we're on. And we're both really flexible with that.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, for example, he's working opposite schedule of me. So he works on the weekends while I work
Yeah.
during the week. So we're able to kind of manage that. And he and I try to have open communication about when the other's feeling overwhelmed and work through that together. At work, I feel like I've been very lucky with the people that I've been on my team and around me. But one thing that I try to do and that I see others doing too is being honest about the
Mm-hmm.
expectations of their schedule. So
Yeah.
instead of saying, like, oh, I'm busy today, they specifically will say, I have to go pick up my kid at a certain time so that it's known that this is a reality that they're dealing with. And it gives others like myself more of a comfortable feeling when I have to do something like that, because that's a lot of people's reality.
Yeah.
So keeping that in the open instead of hiding it, I think it makes it easier to talk about those things and say, hey, I need to do this, or can I do that? And realize that we all have different things going on
Mm-hmm.
besides, a meeting.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I certainly agree with all the points that you mentioned, but I want to focus on one thing moving forward is like you spoke about open communication where you're feeling overwhelmed or whether you're like your week is too packed. So realizing that you're feeling overwhelmed and having an open communication about that, how important that is to you and
Mhm.
how do you basically manage that, like
Mhm.
realizing that okay, it is getting overwhelmed right now and I need to talk to someone and
Mhm.
let my husband know so that he can help.
Yes. Well, I wish I had the perfect answer for that.
Yeah.
It's ever changing. I think what I used to do is I'd realize I was overwhelmed whenever I'd get to like a breaking point where I would all
Hmm.
of a sudden be like, this is
Yeah.
too much, and feel just almost like, the weight of the world. I'm getting better at recognizing those signs before it gets to that point. And
Hmm.
I think that's just, an evolving thing that I'll get better at as I get older, like anything else. But things that I notice for myself is if I start not sleeping well, or,
Yeah.
things my mind can't focus as well, if I'm extra tired, just like physical things I'm
Hmm.
noticing, I start to be like, okay, I need to go to bed earlier. Maybe he can take care of the kids at night a little bit more, or something. It just depends on the situation. I'm definitely not perfect at recognizing those things because I tend to just be like, oh, I'll power through it, but that's not helping anyone. And I've definitely gotten better at trying to catch those signs earlier so that
Hmm.
it doesn't get to that breaking point. I feel like that's kind of hard sometimes to like slow down enough to catch those signals, but
Yeah.
little improvements at a time.
Yeah, I certainly agree to this point. Like, uh, when you feel that you're not a bit productive, it is time for reflection and go back and see, like, okay, what has changed in the past week? What is not working in this week? And that is making me feel unproductive, or
Mhm.
it is actually unproductive. Because most of the time we are doing a lot of stuff, but we feel unproductive. So there is
Mhm.
an feeling which prevails. The whole week, and then we come and notice that okay, was it just that I was not doing things? So making this achievement list is what I do, that
Mhm.
write down the points that which actually was been done rather
Mhm.
than was supposed to do. So if the
Mhm.
list goes longer than 4 points, then the week was productive.
Yeah.
So have like a pointers to yourself saying that okay, so I have been doing something. It is not that really I was unproductive about the stuff. So
Mhm.
let's analyze and let's reflect on the fact that what has changed. Maybe there are like add-on tasks which are coming my way and which is making me feel overwhelmed or unproductive. So
Mhm.
noticing this few changes can really help you moving forward.
Totally agree. Yeah, it's very helpful to look at those tasks that have to get done too, and decide where you want to put your time and energy. And that's one thing I've been working on too, is okay, if I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed more often, where is my time being spent?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm putting it into things that are not helpful, and
Yeah.
maybe I need to switch it into something that is, more fulfilling, more gives me energy rather than takes my energy away. And that's also always an evolving thing that I'm, taking in, what's going on and what can I change to make it a little bit easier on myself in some cases if it feels like it's becoming too much.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
is there a ritual kind of thing for yourself to manage a week moving forward, like something that you do on Fridays or something that you do on Monday mornings where you plan your week in a way?
Um, Sometimes our weeks are, well, it's been summertime, and so
Yeah.
we haven't had much of a routine going on as far as the family time. But as far as what I like to do every day, I like to make sure that I get a little bit of time or as much time as I can with my kids, not and quality time. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
if they go outside to the parks with my husband during the day a lot during the week. And so I always try to make sure, at least on the weekends, like I get some park time with them because that's whenever I refuel. I'm still figuring out what kind of routine and planning mechanism might work best for me. And I haven't found anything yet that's like, this feels right. This feels good. I think it's just the demand of work and home has been a lot, and it's hard to find that sweet spot. I think I'm getting there, but reading is a good one. I've picked up reading again
Yeah.
before bed. That one has helped a lot more than I expected it
Yeah,
to.
it helps you to like calm down and get into
Yeah.
that sleep zone a bit,
Hmm.
because even I read before I go to bed, and that has certainly helped me, like
That
just
one's
to,
been wonderful.
relax.
Even in the mornings on the weekends, I've found myself waking up earlier than the rest of the family so that I can just get 30 minutes in of reading
Hmm.
with a little coffee, and I kind of feel like it's a fresh start to the day. That one's been really nice.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
finding joy in these movements is what life about, because as you mentioned that there won't be a perfect routine, there won't be a perfection achieved in a work or in the life with the kids. So it is as you move forward, and routines do change. There will not be like one single routine that you can stick for all the seasons of the year. So the
Right.
routines can change as the season goes, right?
Yeah. Even just accepting that fact alone can take a weight off. I think that
Yeah.
there's a lot of people like myself before that thought, oh, I need to do this a certain way and I'll feel great. Once you just kind of accept that change is going to be constant and that's okay, and that's a part of this season, there's a lot less pressure on ourselves. We can move forward with and enjoy things a little bit more easily.
That's right. Yeah. So you work in the corporate world of management and product management and program management things, and things are changing for mothers as we are moving forward. But what are the main policy changes or the workplace changes that you expect to see in near future?
Well, there's some that I have already seen. Of course, there's more to do, but
Yeah.
I talked to some women who are maybe 10 years older than me, 15
Mhm.
years older, and they talk about their motherhood experience. They only would get, a couple weeks, maybe
Yeah.
6 weeks off. And then, now we're getting closer to that 3 month mark. I've seen some companies are leaning into the 6 months for maternity leave and giving dads more time off too.
Hmm.
I remember my mom told me she was a stay-at-home mom, but she had me, I think, on a Friday or something, and my dad was supposed to go back to work Monday. She had maybe 2 days, and she asked him on that Monday, she's like, can you please stay home one more day? And that's all that he got. So now our friends have a baby, and the dad's like, oh, I get 2 months. And so
Yep.
that's wonderful because it's that supportive environment that makes such a difference. So companies doing that sort of thing, increasing the paternity leave and the maternity leave a little bit makes a huge difference, I think, in retention of
Mhm.
mothers. I think people need to really be sure that they are not overlooking mothers or parents for leadership roles
Yeah.
because, oh, they have kids, they're busy, because that's not true. Many people can and want to be a part of those conversations. And the more people that are at those levels, the easier it will be to include a more diverse group because it'll be normal to say, hey, can we move this or can we do that because of our schedules instead of pretending there's just
a
work
structure
life
kind
and
of thing.
nothing else.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
And
Yeah.
things are normalizing because we have normalized the fact that it's summertime and most of the kids are home. So they
Mhm.
we would see kids running in the backyard
Right.
if you're in a Zoom meeting. Like
Yeah.
we have normalized the fact that you can block your calendar in a way that
Hmm.
going to pick up a kid, so that is acceptable now. So things are changing, but
Hmm.
there is much more to do to that.
Yes. And I've noticed that even if it's accepted, some people are more comfortable doing that than others just because they don't want to be viewed as we talked about, as somebody who has too many things going on and they get overlooked. And so maybe they will not talk about that as openly or they won't be as specific. But I really think the more specific we are and the more open we are about it as a whole, the
Yeah.
less it will feel like anyone has to hide it. So it takes a little extra courage to do that. And it's hard if you don't have a
Mhm.
supportive manager or if you have a group
Yeah.
that's not supportive, but it does take that extra bit of courage to push things into that direction. So I hope that everybody has the support they need, but I do understand that there may be some that are hesitant
Mhm.
just because maybe they're not in an environment where that's talked about as openly. So taking that first step can be scary, I'm sure.
Yeah, certainly. So, as we are speaking, what are the main advices that you would give to the fellow STEM working mom managing life?
Hmm. Oh, that's a heavy question. I mean, I think the biggest piece of advice would be to take care of yourself
Mhm.
because if you're not taking care of yourself, you won't be able to help others in the way that you want to, at least whether it's in your job or in your home or to yourself. That's really the basic foundational piece to being able to enjoy life with your family, do the work you want to do at work well, and just being able to face each day with that energy that we need in order to deal with the busy schedules and stuff. So whether it is reading before bed so you can sleep better, whatever it is that gives you that element of, okay, I feel like I can face the day, do that. And
Mhm.
I think that will set you up for success for sure.
Yeah, and I would also like to bring up the point again, what you mentioned, that analyze your energies, like which
Yes.
task is taking out your energy, then giving
Hmm.
you energy to move forward in a day. That would certainly help in time management because time management is nothing but energy management moving
Hmm.
forward, right?
Yes. And there's even little things like one thing that I just remembered I did recently. So, of course, on the weekends and when we're not working, we have to clean, we have to do
Yeah.
laundry, we have to take care of the house. My husband does a ton of it during the week, but there's still things on the weekend
Yeah.
that we need to do. And so I told him one day, I said, I spend too much time cleaning on the weekends. I don't it's just I'm not with the kids. I want to not do that as much. So I just like decided to clean less.
Hmm.
It's not that the house is dirty, like
Yeah.
it's still fine, but there's just stuff everywhere. I don't pick up the toys in every single room. I don't, make sure all the laundry's perfectly folded. We'll have a couple extra baskets of our clean laundry and the toys are going to be everywhere, but I don't have to worry about it. And I've decided I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And then I let myself enjoy that time that I have to do other things. So it can be little things like that that add up to feeling better about where my time is going.
Yeah, I certainly agree and resonate with this because it is like setting up your standard. Because every
Yes.
once in a while, I was getting very irritated when I used to see a messy kitchen top, but
Mhm.
I decided that I am okay with the kitchen top, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't add a lot of stress, but it took off a lot of workload, and I
Mhm.
used to feel relaxed. Like I'm okay with however it looks like. It doesn't have to be perfect. It is going to be messy because we have tons of things to do, but I'm
Mhm.
okay with it now.
Yes, yes, exactly. Changing up the standard and the expectations alone can really make things better. That's a
Yeah,
good.
yeah, certainly. So, coming to the end of the podcast, I would like to play a little bit of rapid fire with you.
Okay.
So, tea or coffee to kickstart your day?
Oh, coffee.
So, what is the most used emoji on your phone?
Probably the laughing one that has like one little tear.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, ebook or physical book for bedtime stories and for your bedtime reading?
Physical books.
Got it. So, what is the most memorable mom win related to your STEM work?
What was that? Say it one more time.
What is the most memorable mom win related to your STEM work? Was it like tutoring, little experiments, or something?
Oh, I don't even know the best mom one related to I like doing science experiments with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite thing is watching them get excited for those and I enjoy them. That's the best.
Great. And what's your go-to stress reliever after a long day?
It's just going straight to bed and sleeping.
I like that.
I'm someone who would take a nap every day if I could. If I had the time from 2 to 4 every day, I would sleep just like my kids.
No, me too. I agree.
Yes.
Oh, the last question is early bird or night owl for getting work done?
Early bird for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I
Before the
my
kids wake up.
Yes. Years ago I would have said do things at night, but now the earlier, yeah, that's the
The
way to go
better.
for me.
Uh-huh. Perfect. Thank you, Eleni, for this very, I would say, advice-packed episode to all the fellow STEM working moms. And you really nailed to the point where you said that do not put a lot of expectation on yourself, plan ahead, and just go as the day goes. Like you will manage it along the way.
Yes, yes. I think if anyone listening to this can feel a little bit of relief after hearing the conversation, then that is the goal here is to make people just yeah, have a little bit of a weight lifted off of their own
Mhm.
shoulders too.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, no, thank you for this conversation. It was wonderful.